Hi, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and recently I participated in a digital classrooms that lasted a whole week called the Jesse James Bead Summer Camp. And within our kit, we got a Beads of Courage Carry-A-Bead. Now, if you've never heard of Beads of Courage or Carry-A-Bead, their Carry-A-Bead program, Beads of Courage is a organization that gives beads to desperately ill children. For everything they have done, they get a bead. For instance, if they have to have a shot, they get a bead. If they have to have an x-ray, they get a bead. If they have to stay the night in the hospital, they get a bead. Unfortunately, many of these children have hundreds of beads. Anyway, the Beads of Courage Carry-A-Bead program is where they send you purchase this set. It comes with 2 beads, and you carry one of these beads for a while. Then you send one of them, just one, you get to keep the second. You send one of them back to the Beads of Courage headquarters, along with the card that's in here, which you fill out telling them what you did while carrying the bead. And when this bead goes to a child, that card goes with it. So you have this connection. So anyway, I'm going to make a piece of jewelry with this Carry-A-Bead set, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Okay, here we are back again. Here's our Carry-A-Bead set that we got in our, we're going to use for this. I've been involved with this company, this program for a while. This particular bracelet is a stretch bracelet, and this was the Carry-A-Bead that I carried. The other one is, of course, back with the Beads of Courage, possibly with a child by now. This one went to Ireland with me, so it's very special. And this is one way of using it in a stretch bracelet, of course, as the focal. Another way I used it is, this is the Carry-A-Bead. I made this actually in the Jesse James Beads Tucson Adventure classes that we had, I guess it was in 2020, February. But very pretty little thing. And the other Carry-A-Bead was actually another dangle, which I cut off after wearing this to Phoenix to visit my 92-year-old mom. So anyway, this is another way to do it. This particular bracelet needs a, well, I suppose you could do it without it, but it works much better with a bracelet form, which you can get from Beadalon. And then this bracelet, this is my bead. This was not a Carry-A-Bead. This was from a, I took a Designing with the Stars Beads of Courage class, and they challenged us to use these little metal beads they sent us in some form of jewelry, and then to send them a picture of it. And this was mine. This is the Love bead. They have, I think there's 4 different ones. And this is the type of bracelet we're going to make today. So, and then we'll use the ring as to put the extra one as a dangle, and the original will be the focal in the middle, the one we're going to keep. So let's get started on that. Okay, to make this, of course, we'll need our Carry-A-Beads. We'll need some beading wire, some crimps. These are soft flex. You do not have to use soft flex. You could use Beadalon. I have a button, which is for the closure, a ring. I'm using a regular ring this time, but when I made this bracelet, I used the top half, the female side of a toggle clasp, and you can certainly do that if that would work better for you. We'll need some leather, and of course some beads. I've got the Jesse James Beads African Violet set out here. I'm going to use part of those, And then I've also got some other Jesse James beads from some other packets that I had. There's these pretty orange and really deep red to match some of the stripes within here. And of course the purple will match some of the other stripes. And I've chosen to use some gold spacers. So let's get these things all opened up and start on this. Of course, the first thing we need to do is open our beads up and get them out. This is rather snugly in here. Now, there's, like I say, 2 beads on a safety pin with a little Team Beads of Courage. You can use this as a dangle too if you wish. Within here is a Keep on Trekking sticker. Isn't that cute? A Beads of Courage sticker. These are for yourself. This is the card which you fill out to send back with your, and in this little bag with your bead that needs to go back. And it has instructions on what to do here. So we'll put these back in the package because we'll need them later after we decide when we decide to send the bead back. Oops, you can't keep my bead. We'll put this aside. Where are we going? Up there's good. Okay. Then we want to open up this package of African violet, that's what they call it. So open these. Pull the beads off. Now I'm not going to want to use these really big ones. They are way too big for this bracelet. Well, you know, some people might like them. I'm not wanting one in my bracelet. I would probably put them in a necklace. But the beads that match the best are these really cool ones here. So we're going to use those. And I don't feel that these bluish color ones really match well. So we're going to take those out. And now we have these things here, and let's see if we have enough beads to make our bracelet. Now one of these beads I'm going to use, as I said, as the focal. So we need to take it off of the pin. We'll temporarily leave the other one on the pin for now so that we don't misplace it anywhere. Incidentally, I tend to take this sticker off of this little label tag off of here when I open some beads up. We'll just cut it right off here because I tend to put these in little tubes or little cases, whatever you want to call them, and then I like to keep them together. They look like this when I got them done. These are from our camp, so they're a little different. But anyway, so let's sort of form what we want to do with our beads here. No, that's too big. Will this little bead cap fit on here? Good. Maybe we'll just put a regular spacer here. Okay. And I think we're going to put these orange ones next because I think that will pull out the orange in the bead. See, are these spacers going to be too big for that? Yes, I think so. So I don't want to use those there. So we'll just use these again. And then I'm going to put in 2 of these big, pretty beads. on, baby. Like so. This will be an extra. Then maybe one of these drusies. And with these drusies, we can use these caps. Let's see, how does that go this way? I think they should be all right. Then we'll put this little gold cap on this side and put in these nice, pretty red ones. And let's see how long that is. Now, this particular bracelet is going to be a little shorter than we need that one to be because it has the larger beads and it's going to require a little more space. So we need to have another something here. Let's see, I think we're gonna change this around a little bit here. Oh, no, we are gonna put these in, but I think we'll put these little spacers here and here instead. And then these caps can go on the end of these. And then we'll put these purples on this side. And I think that should do it. Now, if we think we've got the length good, we can get our beading wire out. I have chosen to use this Soft Flex Gold because I don't have very much left, so I might as well just get it used up. And okay, you have to come out of there. I'll do it later. So then that should be enough. We'll put a bead stopper on one side because we don't want to lose our beads as we're putting them on. And let's get them strung on here. Now I have a thing for spacers. Spacers are not a requirement. If you don't want to put spacers in with your bracelet, you don't have to. So one side of the wire is a bit sticky because it was underneath that tape. Okay. Now we just look it over and see if that's going to be pleasing to us. I love crystal rondelles, but I'm not spacers, but I'm not sure I like them there because they, even though they're good on the druzy side, they look a little gappy on the other side. So we may find something different to place in there. Okay, I'm going to put another bead stopper on the other side. while I decide how I want to do this. And actually, I think it's a little shorter than I want it. So I may just, instead of taking these out, I may just put in another bead in here instead of that. But now I have to decide what bead. I'm thinking either a dark brown or possibly another orange, or maybe even a white to go with the white stripes. So let me get back and see what I can find to put this in that place. All right, I recalled that I just got these beads as a free gift from Jesse James Beads with my last order. And I'm thinking that these brown topaz right here may work. And I also found a couple more little spacers because obviously we're going to need to put another spacer in here. So let's cut these open and see if they will work how I want them to. Let's put this other one aside. And we have these two brown ones, and I think they'll be all right. They don't look too horribly big. So let's just pull this off of this side. Put in this spacer, this new spacer, the brown bead, and then restring this side and see how it looks to us. Oh yeah, I think that'll work. So let's get the other side put together, and then we're going to decide if we're making it too big. And if we are, then of course we'll have to take off probably the little purple ones on the end. Okay, we've got our beads restrung. And remember, we're going to put the ring on one side, the button on the other, and then the ring is going to have leather on it so the button can slide through. Now, if I compare this with the one I have already got made, it's a little bit larger. But that's good because these beads are longer and larger, and they will take up space when they bow around. So let's set this aside again. As you can see, there is quite a bit of space left on my arm because of the beads. Oh, that's looking good. I like that. So let's get the crimps out and our crimped wire and tubes, and we'll put the button and the ring on. So the button goes on one side, the ring goes on the other, obviously, and we're going to put them on with some crimps. These are soft flex crimps and magical crimpers. So these are crimp tubes. That's let's see, let's take this off. Put down the crimp tube in here. Come on, babe. And then put it through the button shank. Back through the tube. And cinch her up. You don't want her real tight because you want to have that movement there by the button so that you can move it around and get things in place. That even might be a little tighter than I want, though the button moves good. So if the button's moving good, make sure you don't have your wires crossed here. should be able to fill it. If it's crossed, it should look a little wonky too. So then take your pliers. There's a little divot right in the middle of the plier, and you put the tube right in the middle of that and press down, and then turn it, do it again, and continue to do it around in a circle until it forms a little, what looks like a bead. Now let's give it a tug test, and it seems to be pretty good. So let's see if we can wind some of these beads up through the extra wire. Some beads are have too small of a hole to go through 2 strands of wire, some don't. Ones that are notorious for that are pearls. Okay, all of them went through, so that's great. So now we go to the other side and bring it around. Now I've brought it around like this so that it gives it some space as I'm working, so this doesn't get too tightened, because if it gets too tight, it'll be very stiff on you. So then let's put this crimp tube on this side. It goes around the ring and then back through. And as we've already figured, it will go through beads, so we might as well pull her back through the beads. Tighten her up. Now that when you've got this set where you think you want it, then tighten your crimp up. Again, you put these in, get the little tube in the crimp divot, push and turn. And tug test, and she's good. Then we cut off the extra wire. Make sure you're cutting the proper wire. And this section is done. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to cut us a piece of the leather. As you can see, it comes around pretty good. So now we need a piece of the leather, and this piece, as you can see, it's 3 inches folded over. You'd think 6. No, you need at least 7, maybe even 8, because you have to have room for the knots. This also I have put in a bead right here up against it. This is a large hole bead. It's not necessary. You don't have to put that in. But you'll need at least 7 or 8 inches of your leather. I'm going to cut 8 myself. I don't want to be shorting myself any. It's heartbreaking when you get there and discover that you don't have enough leather. So we'll put this aside now. And the next thing we want to do is make a lark's head knot to go over our ring. So we bring the ring up here. And I can never remember for the life of me which way I want it to go. Let's see, I think it's this way. Make sure you have your strands. Nope, it was the other way, because my button is facing this direction. Well, actually, might not be, just a sec. When we come around and hook it, come around straight. Oh, we're good. So when you come around with your beads, you should be with your lark's head that direction. Well, if you prefer. Now the next step, if you want to put on a large whole bead onto this, this is now. You do it right now. I'm not going to put a large whole bead on mine. You can if you wish to. And if you use leather cording as opposed to the little leather, this type of leather, they'll go on a lot easier. And, you know, the leather cording works just as well as these do. But the next thing you want to do is you want to make sure how large your button is. Ours is about right there. So, and then we want to make an overhand knot right here on the other side. And this is where we take up a lot of our leather, because overhand knots, surprisingly enough, do take up a lot of space. Okay, so again, we want to ascertain that we have it in the right spot. We may have to work it a little bit. Let's make sure it's going to fit. Looks good. We'll tighten it up some. Don't over pull. You don't want to break your leather. It looks like I got mine twisted some here. We don't want that, so I'll probably end up pulling this knot out. So it's a good thing I don't have it glued or anything yet. Sure, when you tie your knot that you have them side by side so that you don't get that twist in it. Let's get through here again. Come on, baby. Okay. Okay, as you can see, the knot is too big, so we need to work it down so it's a little bit smaller. It just needs to be just big enough for that button to go in. If it's not, it's gonna, it could fall off, or you know, it's just better, more secure if the knot is down right at the buttons. So to do that, we want to just loosen the knot and then pull some of the slack out of here and then tighten it up again. See how we're at now, and we're just about perfect. So we want to tighten that right there. And there we go. Now we pull it through, and you would think it's done. But we have one more step. And if you've already carried your bead on your bobby pin, right on your clothing or something, and you're ready to send the bead back now, you don't need to do this next step. Your bracelet would be finished. But we are going to do one more step. And incidentally, you can glue this leather if you, the knot, if you would feel better about that. You don't have to, but you definitely can. Okay. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to make some dangles to hang off of our ring. And one of those dangles is going to be the other carry-a-bead. And maybe I'll put the silver, so I probably won't. So we'll put that aside and maybe use it in something else. But right now, we are going to pull our carry-a-bead out. And then we're going to need to find maybe another bead or two to enhance this. And then we'll make it into a dangle here. And after you wear it for a while, then you can remove the dangle and send it back to Beads of Courage. Of course, we can't send this one back. It's right in the middle of the neck of the bracelet. So let's see what we can find to possibly put on either side of this little bead to protect it, to keep it from getting banged around too horribly much against the wires and things. And then we'll hook it on. You can hook it on in two ways. You can just wire wrap it when you put the bead together right onto the ring, or if you prefer, you can put it on a jump ring and hang it that way. If you hang it directly onto here, when you go to send it off, you'll need to cut it loose, of course. Or if you put it on a jump ring, you can just open the jump ring and you could send the whole thing, but I don't think they'd send the whole thing to the child, so probably better just to cut it loose. So let's see what we can find to put with this little bead. So let's see, I think I have some little orange beads, and that might be just what I want. Get another one of those. And see if I can find some small spacers. Not in this one. Got some more little crystal rondelle spacers that I think are just about the right size and will do the trick just great. So we're going to put those between our little beads here and make us a nice little dangle out of this one. So let me get a head pin. I tend to use ball head pins. I like the look of the extra little ball on the end. So let's get this strung up. There we go, our dangle is finished with our carry-a-bead that will need to be returned to Beads of Courage, and we will hang that now onto the edge of this ring here. And if you want to add another dangle or two, that works fine, or you can just do the one. But to make this dangle, we need to put a bend in the wire. And then I like to use my bell making pliers to do the loop. This will make a relatively consistent, good sized loop for going around that ring, as you can see. So then you want to put this on the ring. Now, I don't suppose it makes much difference which side you put it on, one or the other side of the ring here. You may need to open there we go, it slid right on, that's great. So then I like these really thin chain nose pliers because I can get hold of the ring easier than with the bigger ones when I'm doing this. Slide it in there, there we go. And then we need to wire wrap around the top here. Now I notice my wire wrap's getting a little loose here, so I'm going to take my thumbnail in and just push those rings up a little bit. Then, because we're close to the bottom, I'm going to take my other pair of pliers to finish the wraps. I like to get snug if I can right up to the bead. And then we'll cut this extra little tiny bit off. And then we need to snug that right up into there. Make sure she's straight. She's looking pretty good. And there we are. We have our bracelet with the one Bead of Courage Carry-A-Bead dangle. So then you just put your bracelet on. Come on, babe. By putting your bead through the button, your leather through the button. Now, if you do decide to go with leather cord as opposed to this type of leather, not only can you put another bead, a larger whole bead over here to, that will snug it down here if you want to push it in, and then you could also tie other little beads around to dangle here. And like I say, if you want more than the dangle with the beads of the Carry-A-Bead, you can also just add some more dangles here. Hope you enjoyed the making of this, and there we go. Our Carry-A-Bead bracelet is finished. Okay, now here's the bracelet. You can see I have the dangle hanging. This is the bead that needs to be returned, and there of course is the focal with the one that stays with you, and it makes a really pretty little bracelet. Now mine could have been a little looser if you like a looser bracelet. I did not make it looser, but there it is. And I think it's quite lovely. Now I've got it hooked in a way that the dangle comes down my arm. It probably should have it hooked the other direction, but there you go. Thanks.